Hello everyone, my name is Haley Hoffman and I'm going to talk a little about my experience with the CHamoru language and what it's been like for me growing up with it around but not really knowing it. Growing up on Guam, CHamoru was always something I heard, especially from my grandparents. I mostly heard it at family parties or when I would go over to their house. They would be talking to each other or other relatives in CHamoru and I'd kind of just listen. I didn't really understand what they were saying, but it still felt familiar, like it was part of my life, even if I wasn't directly involved in it. At the same time, it sometimes made me feel left out because I couldn't join in or respond. My parents don't really speak Chamorro fluently. They understand some things and can say a few basic phrases, but English was what we mostly spoke at home. Because of that, I grew up speaking English and Chamorro wasn't something I learned naturally. When I was in school, Chamorro classes weren't really offered, so it wasn't something I could even take if I wanted to. The little bit of Chamorro I know comes from phrases or simple prayers I've heard over and over, but I don't really use it in my daily life. Now that I'm older, I've started to realize how that affects me. There are times when I feel embarrassed that I don't know how to speak Chamorro, especially because I am Chamorro. When elders speak to me in the language and I can't understand or respond, it feels awkward, and sometimes I wish I had learned it earlier. I also feel sad knowing that the Chamorro language is slowly disappearing, and I know people my age, including myself, play a part in that, even if it wasn't really our choice growing up. The Chamorro I know right now is very basic, but it still feels meaningful to me. Even knowing a little bit makes the language feel less intimidating and more real, instead of something that feels completely out of reach. I've also grown up hearing Chamorro through music, and even when I don't understand every word, it still makes me feel connected. Hearing the language in songs feels emotional and familiar, not just something you learn in the classroom. That's why I decided to take this class. I want to learn Chamorro for myself, but also for my family. I want to understand my grandparents better and feel more confident around elders. I don't expect to be fluent or perfect, but I want to try. Taking this class feels like a step toward reconnecting with something that's always been there in my life, but just out of reach. I also see this class as a way to be more intentional about learning instead of always saying one day and never actually starting. Even if progress is slow, I think showing up and making an effort matters. I want to be more comfortable using what I learned, even if it's just small things at first. For me, taking this class is about trying to break the gap between my generation and the ones before me and making sure the language doesn't feel so distant anymore. Thank you.